Welcome back to the Overthinking Podcast, where we take all the fitness chaos in your brain and help you make sense of it. I'm sure a few of our listeners can relate to today's topic. And if you've gotten stuck in the trap of not feeling like you're accomplishing anything when you're working so hard, this one's for you.
And think about it, like you're hitting your workouts, you're eating healthier, but the scale isn't moving. Does that mean you're not making progress? Well, maybe you're stuck in the arrival fallacy trap and you don't even know it. Today, we're telling you the real reason why people start feeling like nothing is working no matter how hard I try, and how to actually track your progress. We're going to unveil the tools that are actually worth paying attention to, the ones that are not, and the one mindset shift that might just keep you in the fight, even when you fall off. But. So this week, I'm influencing High Rocks. Because
Oh,
Kelsey doesn't even know this, I signed up for a High Rocks for next weekend.
I don't even know what High Rocks is. Can you tell
Great.
me?
This is what High Rocks is. It's a total of 8K in running altogether, but it's
Okay.
broken up between 8 different events. So you
Okay.
start with a 1K run, then you do a 1K ski erg,
How
then a
far is
1K.
1K?
It's less than a mile. So in total,
Okay.
it's 5.6 miles, but
Wait,
it's
I could
8.
be I could be into this.
So exactly, and the reason why I'm influencing it is because the movements that they have in High Rocks are like the quote unquote functional movements of CrossFit. So it's similar to CrossFit in the way that you're doing farmers carries and sled pushes and burpee broad jumps and things like that, and rowing, skiing.
So
But
it's 1K run, 1K ski, what else?
and then a 1K run and then a sled push. So like all of that 3K in the beginning is like fertile grounds for flying and dying, right? You just
Mhm.
like go bat out of hell and your adrenaline's all up, and then you get to the fucking sled push and you're like,
Yeah.
"Eh."
I'm already tired. Yeah.
Yeah. So the events are run, skier, run, sled push, run, sled pull, run, burpee broad jump, run, and then a 1K row, and then run 200-meter farmer's carry, run 100-meter sandbag lunge, run, and then the last
God.
thing is 100 wall balls.
Oh my god, I'm already in pain.
Okay, here's the thing. You can do it as partners where you run everything together. You have to run the same distance, but you can split up the work, or you can do it individual, and then like the reps are a little bit less. So this
I
is what
wish I wish you were here. I would do it with you so you could help me.
I would actually love to. I talked to my PT today, and I think I'm influencing High Rocks right now specifically because as we go into the colder months, I'm not getting as much steps as I'm used to. It's going to be
Yeah.
so cold here. I'm not going to be walking. So I need a little bit of conditioning or like aerobic activity to kind of
Yeah.
balance out my energy balance. And I think High Rocks is better than CrossFit because of the movement selection, but
Mhm.
also the whole of like constantly varied thing about CrossFit where like you never know what you're doing, you can never track your results, you can't track your training because it's all randomized. High Rocks is the same exact event all the time, every single time.
Maybe we could do like an overthinker mini High Rocks challenge.
What if we made like the overt thinkers guide to hybrid training
Okay.
where we give them the tried and true strength and conditioning principles that we learn from all things hypertrophy, all things absolute strength. And then if you wanted to use this training, not just for training for a High Rocks, but you just like wanted to feel and move like an athlete, then we would teach you how to do that. And based on what you have access to in terms of training, the aerobic activity could just be walking, or it could be the hybrid selection.
Let us know if you want a little overthinker ebook and we will put it out into the ether.
We will put it in the ether for you. What are you influencing or de-influencing?
I don't have one readily available per se, but I have had 3 clients this week. On top of you not feeling good yesterday, I'm going to influence Theraflu. It's an over-the-counter medication, and it is the holy grail when you're sick. It's a
Interesting.
liquid powder. I get the daytime, the nighttime combo in the box. You can just get it, like, at any grocery store, any pharmacy. You don't have to go to the pharmacist. It's just
Mhm.
like an over-the-counter drug. It The first time I had COVID, I didn't know about it. I was taking all the, like, Mucinex and Advil, and none of
Yeah.
that works. NyQuil, none of that works. The second time, I started taking Theraflu immediately, and I was only sick for, like, a day. It was the best.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So let's get
Yeah.
into today's topic. So we're talking all about the data that you might collect or want to collect along your fitness journey and may feel frustrated by. So everyone's first instinct when they start a fitness routine is to probably hop on the scale, right? Like I know that that was my first thing when I first started lifting. And ultimately, people let that number decide their mood for the day. But here's the thing, your body weight fluctuates constantly.
Mhm.
Water, hormones, sodium, glycogen, or your stored carbs, especially if you have like a salty dinner the night before, all of that is going to impact what the scale says.
Exactly. And if we wanted to get right into some of the numbers behind it, for every gram of carb that you consume, it carries 3 grams of water with it. So, this repeatedly is shown in muscle glycogen studies, but essentially, when you're having carbs, your body needs to store water with it to make sure that you get it. And so, if you're, a pound over or two because you had a big carb dinner, instead of being upset at yourself, just be like, yeah, that's expected. Like, I should be up a little bit because my body's using this water.
And
Yeah.
on the other end of that spectrum, when people restrict carbs religiously and they see this like instant gratification of weight loss, they
Yep.
think, "Oh, cutting carbs equals weight loss." Well, sure, maybe temporarily, but as
Sure.
soon as you have a little hit of carbs again, you're going to see that scale bounce up, but that doesn't mean that you gained fat. That means that, "Oh, your body's storing water." Great. We
Yes.
want that.
Exactly. We want that because we want those carbs to be used. And the other thing that I think is important to just set the scene for on this podcast is that when we say body weight, that is different than body composition. Body weight, we're talking about total mass of your body. Like when you step on the scale, all pounds that go on that scale. But body composition, when we use that term, we're talking about the contrast between what is lean tissue and what is body fat. So you have lean body mass, which includes your skeletal muscle mass, your skeleton, your connective tissue, all of that stuff, and then the body fat. So we'll use these terms interchangeably, but so that's one mindset shift around carbs, but also your menstrual cycle, you can gain about a pound to 3 pounds just because of your menstrual cycle holding more water during that time. Also, if you've done a really hard training session, your muscle soreness and inflammation from training often is because it's transient water retention.
Mhm.
Also, if you're taking creatine, high fiber meals, these things ask our body to retain more water on purpose so we can actually use these nutrients well. Also, things like poor sleep and acute stress, hormonal shifts. These hormonal shifts with like high cortisol can promote fluid retention. So that whole like cortisol face and cortisol belly, these are short term things that happen because of the inputs that we're giving our body.
And the biggest hack to lose, quote unquote, lose water weight is drinking more water and staying on top of your consistent hydration. I have a client, he told me the other day he drinks 9 ounces of water every day.
9
Nine.
every day?
Yeah. I was like, girl, you need a little bit more than that.
Why?
He just doesn't drink water.
Does he have a reason not to?
I think he just doesn't think it's important.
I've had a lot of my older female patients say they don't drink a lot of water because they don't wanna have to go pee all the time, but
Sure.
you will adapt. So if you're
Yep.
nervous about having to find a bathroom all the time and you got a tiny bladder, if you give your body enough stimulus of drinking water after probably 4 weeks, you will not think of that. Your goalpost will have been moved. But I
Yep.
think it's important to acknowledge that what you just said, drinking more water doesn't make you hold more water.
And this is for another episode. If you're taking in more fiber that's new into your diet and you're not drinking water, you're going to get backed up, right? You're
Yep.
not going to be able to go to the bathroom. So make sure you're having water with your fiber, with your veggies, with your grains, everything so that you don't feel bloated, so that you can move things through your system and ultimately not pee so frequently and
Yeah.
the scale won't fluctuate so much.
Yeah.
So, on another note, I know you mentioned menstrual cycle shifts. I have so many clients that, they say that they fluctuate 5 pounds, and I'll ask them, like, are you near your cycle? And just because you're on like your cycle and you see the scale move, that doesn't mean that you're gaining fat during that period. It's all coming back to that water. So the scale is just one data point that shows your total mass or how much gravity is applied to your body, not the actual composition. So really, it's kind of like the least valuable tool that we have in the toolkit.
Yeah, and inflammation isn't inherently bad either. So when we have like if you get a big scratch on your arm, your skin inflames because it's trying to do a healing process. If you're, on your period and you're a little inflamed, that's okay. That's what your body's supposed to be doing. And this is just like one more reason why I am so set on the scale not being a qualifiable form of tracking. Do you have any experiences with the scale? Like what's your experience with the scale like?
Totally. I would say when I was competing in powerlifting, I was probably
Ah, a weight sport.
my I was my most
Weight class.
shredded. I looked
Mhm.
the most lean. I had the most muscle, and I weighed more than I've ever weighed. I weighed, I think, 135 pounds at my heaviest, which was great. I was stoked. And now I probably cruise about 125. And personally, that's probably a little low. And I actually feel more uncomfortable at 125 than when I was 135. So this is just an example of like why the scale is not the best indicator of your happiness with your body.
Right, and less number on the scale does not mean better. Like, everyone has a happy weight. Like, everyone has a homeostasis amount of their body.
Yep.
Whether that's related to where they've been the longest or actually where their body biologically is happy. Um, we get into this like pass fail mindset of like, okay, if I'm 135, that's good, but if I'm 125, that's bad, or vice versa. 135 is good, but 150 is bad. It's like just pass fail. And the scale is just like always a moving goalpost, right? We have all these inputs that affect it. So whether it's period, it's hydration, it's creatine, whatever, like, yeah, your body weight is going to fluctuate, but every time it fluctuates, it's not the most accurate representation of what's going on relative to the inputs that you've put in for your health goals, right? The fact that your body weight can jump up when you've done a hard training session could be so debilitating to somebody if that's the only metric they have. And one topic that I really was a light bulb moment for me is why you feel stuck when you're actually winning is this concept of the arrival fallacy. Have you heard of this before?
I haven't, but you started to tell me about it the other day. I want more info.
Okay. So in psychology, they use this term, the arrival fallacy. And essentially, it's this mistaken belief, this like, again, fallacy that achieving a specific goal will bring long lasting happiness and fulfillment. Like, once I'll finally feel good when I lose 10 pounds,
Yeah.
right? Or I'll finally feel good when I get the promotion or hit the 200-pound back squat.
It's like once I get abs, then I'll be healthy.
Exactly. But then once we arrive, that sense of satisfaction that we get, like, oh, I got the back squat goal, or I'm finally 135 pounds, that hit of dopamine is short lived. So the brain quickly adapts to something new, like a new baseline. So now that you have that 200-pound back squat, as long as it took you to be excited about eating a Rice Krispie treat, is how quickly that 200-pound back squat is going to matter to you. So then you're going to go on to the next thing. So then the next day, you're going to find something else because it's a new baseline. So essentially, in other words, the arrival fallacy tricks us into thinking that happiness lives at the finish line. But when in reality, it's built in the process, it's built in the journey, the habits, the opportunities for growth, that little self trust that you build.
Something, grass is not always greener on the other side.
Right, and, like, if you keep looking over at the other person's grass, you're gonna forget about all those awesome days that you spent standing in your own grass.
Or how good your leg day was yesterday.
Yeah, and, like, your butt felt nice and juicy going into date night, because you did a little glute day. I think just having this term in my mind, like the arrival fallacy, like, naming it really shifted things for me. And when we get into
Mhm.
the space where we get into like the pass, fail, it leaves so little room for enjoying the journey. And if
Mhm.
you're always, one thing to say is like, maybe tracking everything is too much too, right? Like you're tracking your sleep, you're tracking your aura ring, you're tracking your steps. It's like there's so many opportunities for pass fail.
Yes, I wanna go off on data trackers like Aura rings or watches or bands because oftentimes, especially with my clients, they are more toxic than they're worth because people stop listening to your own body in favor of like external data, right? Like if your aura
Yes.
ring is like, "Oh, you slept shitty. You should feel bad today." You're like, "Yeah, no shit. I
Right.
definitely feel shitty." Or what if you just slept shitty and you feel completely fine, right? Like I'm sure we've all been there. We're like, "Huh,
Yes.
I didn't sleep last night, but I kind of feel okay." And then you go to the gym and you still crush a workout, right? But what if that
Yeah.
data that your Aura ring is saying, "You had a shitty night of sleep." You see that and you're like, "Well, I'll skip the gym today." But
Exactly.
you feel fine. Like, that's not a helpful tool in that instance.
That's like our episode with Claire about periods. If you only train when you're not on your period, you're missing out on like basically a third of your month and then you're
Right,
just putting yourself back. But
right.
I completely agree. I think I've had so many women over the years of my coaching like, tell me, like, "I finally ditched my Apple Watch. I finally got rid of it," because we develop these addictions to numbers and to this pass fail. As kids, we grow up and we get the gold star when we do something good, and we get a slap on the wrist when we do something bad. But as adults, we really don't have any guidance for, like, what's good and what's bad, and we have to, like, lean on our own, moral compass, and it sucks that health and fitness becomes such a moral compass thing because we're shaming ourselves. We're guilting ourselves if we don't hit the 10,000 steps. If you hit 9,000 steps and you're walking circles in your living room because you didn't get a 10,000, I don't want that for you.
And it becomes this obsession, right? Like you obsess
Yes.
about it for like a brief period in time and then you stop because you're overwhelmed. So what if there was this like middle ground where you could just yeah, sure, wear your Apple Watch. I'm going to do a little audit this week because I have been feeling like I've been, you know, lackadaisical on some of my eating habits. I've been lackadaisical on my movement. I have been crushing it in the gym, so I'll give myself that. But there are other areas or my pillars of fitness where I'm neglecting, right? So I am going to start wearing my watch again only to just track my steps. That's all I want to do it for. I'm not going to like place any moral value on if I only get 6,000 today. Great.
Yep.
Perfect. That I just know maybe tomorrow I'm going to take the dogs for an extra walk. Boom.
Yep. And you can also manipulate your energy balance with nutrition too. Okay, I wasn't
100%.
feeling so great today. I've been training really hard, so I'm eating, a bit more. So today I'm just going to take out one small serving of carbs. I'm just going to lower my carbs by 30 grams because I'm not going to move as much today. That is also okay to do.
So let's talk about the systems that actually work. So, someone
Yes.
starting a fitness routine, how can we measure our progress if someone wants to know their body composition and not use the scale?
Yeah. So one ways I help my clients see the fruits of their hard earned labor is to measure actual body composition, right? What is body fat? What is muscle? I've used DEXA scans, I've used InBody scans, I've used progress photos, I've used usually those are like kind of the main four in terms of like body composition specifically.
One of the ways that you just talked about with DEXA is actually uses x-rays to scan the
Mhm.
body for fat mass, lean muscle, even water and bone density, which is pretty cool. I
Yes.
got mine done 2 weeks ago now, and it was pretty, like, enlightening, like, I realized I was 20% body fat, which is pretty low, actually very low for a woman. A
Yep.
healthy range is probably 25 to 32-ish percent, I would say. The downside is location, so sometimes you have to travel for them. I think one of the places here in San Diego is actually up in Sorrento Valley, so it's kinda far if you live in, like, downtown or North Park. They're also a little pricier, so I paid $75 for my 1 scan, so could be
Yeah.
limiting.
So the reason why DEXAs are a little bit more pricey is because of that bone density component that it has, and because it uses X-rays instead of electromagnetic waves. And that's what an InBody scan uses. And the electromagnetic waves come from your thumbs and your feet. So you have to stand in a very specific way on an InBody scan. And also like the way that it uses the waves to vibrate what's body fat, what's muscle mass, whatever. Inflammation can kind of cause misreadings. And as we know, we always have some little level of inflammation going on in our body. So I always prioritize DEXA over InBody if you can. Both companies on their websites will have links to like find an InBody near me or find a DEXA near me. DEXAs are used in medical offices a lot too because of the bone density. Like if someone has a hip fracture or a labral fracture, like they use them for that. That's actually what we use them at True Health for.
It's one of the ways
Um,
they test for osteoporosis or osteopenia.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I think it's important to have these tracking systems now and when we're, like, young and all this stuff, but also I've seen a lot of really sad bone density scans because people are not lifting weights, they're on GLP-1s and yada yada.
And I know that, like, it may sound intimidating, right, to have, like, electrical impulse from the InBody scan, but I wanna note that both are non-invasive and don't feel like
Yes.
anything. On the DEXA that I did, I literally just laid on a table and, like, basically a computer scanner just, like, scanned me like I was getting faxed.
Yeah. Yeah, and it actually has less radiation than a microwave, so every time you do one, you're basically just you're fine. But I will share, InBody is
Con
what I've used more exclusively when I was at functional bodybuilding and at Proof 3. They're just more available, a lot of gyms have them, so having it be accessible is definitely a perk, and because InBody isn't as accurate, it is precise, but it's not accurate, right? So what you can do is use InBodies more frequently. Like I would say you could do an InBody once a month and just track the trends, knowing that the actual percentage of body fat and muscle mass isn't probably 100% accurate, but you can still kind of gauge your trends over time. DEXA is more accurate and precise, but more pricey, harder to get access to, whatever. So if you have access to both, I would say, and you're really wanting to make some goals and really track some things, InBody every month. I probably would not do it any more than that, maybe every 2 months. And then DEXA once a
Mhm.
quarter or every, twice a year.
Yeah, I would say every 6 months. Give yourself time to actually build muscle. Another con to the InBody is, like you said, they're not as inaccurate or they're not as accurate. And one of the reasons for the variance is hydration, meal
Yeah.
timing before the scan. So if maybe you do it first thing in the morning one time and you do it in the afternoon the next time, you're going to have a lot of variance there. So try to do it the same time every time.
And I do highly suggest doing it fasted in the morning. Don't have coffee. Don't, I mean, not that that matters a ton, but especially for DEXA, you do want to do that fasted. Um,
Mm, I did not.
Ideally. No, I mean, this is all ideals. If being fasted or not is going to get you in the way of getting your metrics, don't worry about it. But ideally, yes, just to make it easier on the machine.
So those are both helpful tools. Another way that is more easy to track progress is going to be progress photos. And this is good for your longer term. So I know that these can be awkward at first. I have clients like totally resistant, and I understand that. One of the biggest regrets that I personally have on my journey was that I never had photos from when I was a stick person. I
Yes.
weighed 105 pounds at 5'7", which is not healthy, by the way. When I finally committed to making an effort to gaining muscle and looking the way that I wanted, I really wish that I could look back and compare just how much progress that I actually made.
Yeah. I cannot echo that enough. I was just on a call with a client this morning and I was like, I know it sucks. I know that it sucks to like have the exposure therapy of seeing these numbers on a DEXA scan or seeing these photos of a body that you don't feel comfortable in yet. But part of your journey has to be the pain that you have to feel so that you know that that goal matters to you. Okay. When I have clients who are resistant to doing body composition photos or resistant to doing DEXA scans, and not from like because we're trying to heal a disordered eating relationship or anything like that, but just because they don't want to, I'm like, these goals probably don't matter that much to you. And I really mean that because when you do have those photos to look back on, you can see such little marginal changes over time that actually keep fueling your fire. So, yes, photo one's going to suck. Photo two might suck too. But week 3, 4, 5, 6, you're going to be so happy that you have week one to compare back to. And for some of my clients who are just really not comfy with it because they do feel that there's some disordered stuff that pops up, I'll tell them to take a video. So prop their phone up, not front facing, the other way, and then have them do all three poses and then just kind of move around in their body a little bit. And sometimes by sending me that video, them not having to look at it, one, we can see just how their body moves in real time, right? Because with a still frame, it's like, am I 20% sucked in? Am I 30% sucked in? You never really know. And so I do think videos can also be a helpful tool. And if you don't have a coach to send it to, just put them in a folder on your phone that you just don't look at,
Yep, put them in
until
the
you're
little
ready.
hidden folder. If you don't know, iPhone has a hidden folder.
Okay, sneaky snake. I didn't know that was a thing.
Well,
What's in there, Kels?
well, that's for another time.
So, yes, like, photos can be awkward, and the last thing you want when you're already feeling uncomfortable and, like, starting a new journey is to be standing there in your underwear and then sending it to some stranger. But these photos do become kind of your receipts of your hard work, and so it's one way that we can put more emphasis on the inputs than just the outputs. And honestly, side by sides are so validating after a couple weeks. Like, I could not say that enough.
And part of the coaching relationship is not just like, here's your training plan, here's your what you should eat. It's like
No.
walking you through these hard conversations of, okay, you come to me, you say, I'm frustrated because I'm not seeing results. It's been a month, it's been 3 months.
Yep.
Okay, let's look at all the metrics that we have available to us. Have you taken progress photos? Let's update those. Okay, let's say you have in this hypothetical situation. We can compare those. And maybe you see new little lines in your legs. Maybe you see the little obliques coming through for the first time.
Right.
It's
And
all
you're gonna
those
miss that?
little right, it's all those little things that you're gonna start to notice early on. And then a year from now or 2 years from when you start, you're gonna be like, "Holy shit, I had no idea how much I changed."
I mean, I think what you're sharing is speaks to the coach client relationship and just really how intimate that is. I had a call with a financial advisor this morning, and I felt like how I'm sure my clients feel when they're first meeting with me. It's like, oof, I have a lot of things to tell you that I'm not super excited to tell you about, but I know that you need to know. And I know that I need to hear myself say it so that it's real.
Yeah.
Like the 4 p.m. Oreos and crunchies and Pop Tarts, you got to talk to somebody about it because you're just going to keep going. Same thing
Yep.
with photos. You got to just show what your body looks like because you're going to be in a bathing suit in 6 weeks no matter what.
The
Um,
longer you keep avoiding the discomfort, the further away from the outcome you want that you'll be.
Mic drop, yes. And I think the other reason why people get afraid of DEXA scans and InBody scans and body composition photos is because they are not qualifying their effort enough.
Mhm.
Right? They don't think what they're doing is good enough, or
Mhm.
they feel like, I don't know. So we can even go as deep as like, I don't even feel like I deserve this result.
Mm.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I've always been the fat person. I don't deserve to be the skinny person. I don't deserve to be the fit person. That's
Yeah,
not
you're
me. And it's
identifying with the discomfort.
yes. And then it's uncomfy because now you're doing these things. You're trying to feel like the true person you are. When that little thing happens, you have photos to go back to and be like, I'm making progress. I am doing the right things.
So the last thing, if all of these other metrics are you're not ready for it. The last measurement we can use is tape measurements. So you
Hmm.
get a little cloth measuring tape. We can measure chest, waist, hips, thigh, even your arm, so like the biggest part of your bicep. So these are old school but also reliable. So early on it can suck, of course, but think of it as a gift to your future self. We hear a lot about BMI, right? And how maybe not useful it is. So, BMI is body mass index. And actually, the waist to hip ratio is a better predictor of overall health. So, waist
Interesting.
circumference divided by your hip circumference is going to be the measure that we want. So, it would be waistline is over your belly button or the smallest part of your waist. And then your hip is going to be the widest part of your hips. And so for what's considered healthy is going to be a 0.85 or lower is considered healthy. So if you were to measure your waistline and measure the widest part of your hip, divide waist divided by hip equals the number you get, and that will determine where you fall in that like health metric.
Interesting. I love that. What you brought up BMI, and we didn't even make a section about this, but I think it's worth noting because we hear BMI a lot, like when you go to the doctor and yada yada.
Mhm.
Probably on your food trackers, it tells you your BMI. Your body mass index is just related to like your height and weight. So basically, the way that people use the scale is what the BMI does. It's like, oh, you're overweight for your height, but it doesn't take into account how much of your weight is muscle and how much of it is body fat. So when you get a BMI reading, just kindly throw it in the trash and then come to us and get better systems for tracking. So we
Kindly
talked
throw it in the trash.
kindly throw it in the trash.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a tool, just like any of this, right? Like if we're
Sure. I
considering
guess.
a typical body, right? But not many people fall in the typical body. Like a typical body doesn't it's not synonymous with health, right? Or like predictive of positive health outcomes. Whereas something like the waist to hip ratio might be a better predictor of health because the more fat you carry around your middle, that
Yep.
is your predictor of health outcomes.
Because
So
a lot of
maybe
your internal organs are in there.
and like the more fat mass you carry in that area, the more risk you have for cardiometabolic disease,
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
So that's all the reason why it's important to stay active and eat healthy. So speaking of,
I do think it's important that we also categorize this podcast because we just talked so much about the inputs or sorry, the outputs, like how to track your progress when you've done the work. But then there's also ways to track your progress for the work that you're doing. So we also want to talk about the metrics you can track for inputs that ultimately will get you to your goal. We just talked a lot about the outputs, like okay, this is where a lot of the pass fail mindset comes in, but then also that can come in when we're talking about tracking food, tracking training, tracking steps, hydration, sleep, mindset, how's your mood? Those are all important things to also either keep an eye on or track consistently so that you know that you're not just kind of willy-nilly. You can see, oh yeah, my weight's up a little bit because maybe I, am lower on steps the last month and a half. Okay, cool. I know what I need to do now.
two commonly used styles of tracking food that I think we've
Mhm.
probably all heard about, right? One is going to be tracking macros. And if you want a refresher, go back to episode 22, How Many Calories, where we show you how to calculate your calories and macros. The other is your little
My
soapbox.
favorite my favorite soapbox. My favorite method of tracking actually doesn't include a tracking app. So what I do and I coach my clients to do is use their hand portion, use their hand as kind of like their calibration. And then I also use what's called the plate method. So these are two more intrinsic, a little bit more intuitive styles of tracking food. I think if you're a brand new person who's like wanting to start their fitness journey right now and feeling really motivated, I think it's great for everyone to track their food in MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, Macro Factor, whatever, for at least 2 weeks just to kind of learn. And I know we've talked about that before, but once you've kind of learned the nuance of foods and you kind of know what your common 20 foods are, you can go a bit more intuitive. And so your hand always goes with you. And, more commonly people would
Usually.
say, usually goes with you. I wish I was a Bratz doll and I could just drop them off at the nail salon. Here, take my hands. I'll pick them up
There's
in 2
so many
hours.
times I'm like, I wish I was Mr. Potato Head. I could just like remove my arms.
Yes. Yes. So
Anyone
I
else
think
or just us?
yeah, are we weird or okay. So your hand usually goes with you. So whatever your portion sizes are can be related to your hand. So for me, I'm 155 pounds. I'm 5'9". I know I need to be eating at least 155 grams of protein per day. So when I outstretch my hand from the base of my wrist to my top of my middle finger, that is my one serving of protein because I know that's about 45 to 50 grams of protein and I need that 3 times a day. So
Damn, girl.
yeah, and that may work for you. Commonly, we see like palm size as a serving for protein. I would say unless you're eating like 4 or 5 meals, that's probably not enough for most.
Mhm, mhm.
And then also, if you're thinking about carbs, like a cupped handful is about a cup-ish, and that's relative to your body size. So that's what they guide you for carbs. And then for fats, this one's a little bit abstract, but think of your thumb. If you were going to fill up kind of like the volume of your thumb with oil, that's how much
Mm.
about a tablespoon and a half would be, which is like a
From the base
normal.
of your thumb to the
Yeah,
tip?
so, like, the base of your thumb to the tip, if it was
Wow, that's a
hollow,
lot.
if your thumb was hollow and you were gonna fill that up with oil, that's about, like, your serving size of oil.
Okay, that's a good hack.
Yeah, so that's kind of the hand portion guide. I can send Precision Nutrition does a lot of stuff with that. They have great infographics. The plate method is a different way of thinking about things. So if you look at your plate, if half of your plate is filled with protein and then fiber, like colors, that's ideal. And then the other kind of like half, like you can use your plate like a pie chart based on kind of what your macronutrient profile is. And then it's just a little bit easier to kind of like rinse and repeat when your meals and plates kind of look the same. This also helps when you're going out to eat as well.
I would say macros are great for learning because
Yeah,
they're data driven. You can understand what's in your food. And I think a lot of times when people track for the first time, they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize how many calories are in this Reese's or this popcorn or these chips. Like, wow, I didn't realize I was eating so many calories. So it also gives you the flexibility, right? So if you put in like maybe your staple in your day that's a non negotiable, you have to have a venti latte with whole milk and all the sweetener. Cool. Put that in. That's a non
first.
negotiable. Then,
Put it in
then you
first.
know. Yep, put it in first. Then you know, all right, I have this much left in my day that I can play Tetris with.
Yep,
The downside is it can also feel like a part-time job. So for so many people, it can be mentally draining, and that's where portion tracking can come in. So you can use your hand as a guide. It's sneaky how effective this can be, but it's not perfect, but it is consistent. And as we know, consistency beats perfection every time.
that's right. And the big picture here is that tracking progress shouldn't feel like judgment. It shouldn't feel like a part time job. It shouldn't feel like a pass fail mindset. It's all just information. Data over feelings. You're gathering data so you can make better decisions, not punish yourself, and actually stay friends with yourself as you're trying to better yourself. It's so common we see these women start becoming like their own worst enemy when they're trying to do something good for themselves. So, the tools you use will in fact change depending on your goals and kind of where you're starting. But either way, you do have the tools to be your own best friend and have the best life that you want and get the best physique.
And maybe you start with something that's more structured in tracking, trying to learn what's working, then loosen the reins as you build those habits and become more consistent. And if you take away one thing from today, any form of tracking or measurement is a tool, not a rule. It should give you clarity, not anxiety.
Yes. And progress isn't just pounds. In fact, it's way beyond that. It's the strength, it's your energy, it's your confidence, it's all the little wins that your scale is not telling. So, if this episode resonated with you or know a friend that also needs to hear this, please share it with them. Our goal is to give the right information to good people who want to make a change. And we greatly appreciate it when you do share. So, as always, connect with us also on Instagram at overt_thinking podcast, at Brianna Lamb, and at Kelsey Michelle. And we will see you in the
In the next
next
episode.
episode.